First say to yourself what you would be and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. Personal transformation doesn't begin with tweaking the old, it begins by destroying it. Most people try to change by adding something, a habit, a course, a new routine. But transformation isn't additive. It's subtractive. The Stoics believed in voluntary death, a symbolic execution of the past self. That version of you who procrastinated, blamed others, waited for the perfect moment. He has to die. You can't carry both him and your future in the same body. This isn't abstract. It's strategic. Imagine your old self like outdated software, buggy, slow, full of errors. You don't update broken code forever. Eventually, you delete and rebuild. Modern psychology backs this. Cognitive restructuring in CBT involves identifying and replacing dysfunctional thought patterns. Not tweaking. Replacing. Your mission: define who you want to be, then strip away everything that contradicts that identity. Ask, what do I have to let go of in order to become him? Not, what do I need to add? But, who do I need to kill within me? This is the first battlefield. Transformation begins the moment you stop negotiating with your former self. Chapter 2, The Battlefield of Inner Dialogue. You wake up. There's a second of silence. Then it begins. That voice in your head, quiet, critical, persistent. You're not ready. You're too late. You'll fail again. It's not the world attacking you, it's your own mind. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And he was right. Most people lose their battles long before they face any external challenge. Why? Because the war is internal. Your thoughts build prisons or pathways. Your old self lives in your inner dialogue. That voice isn't just noise, it's identity. It's the script you've rehearsed since childhood. The fears you repeat. The limits you justify. And if left unchecked, it becomes law. But here's the truth, that script can be rewritten. With honesty. With strategy. With will. Start by noticing the recurring phrases you say to yourself. I always mess things up. I'm not like those disciplined people. It's just how I am. None of that is truth. It's habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. Modern psychology calls this cognitive distortion, invisible biases that shape our perception. Stoicism recognized it centuries ago. That's why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. To evolve, you must confront your thoughts like a warrior examines a weapon. Is it sharp? Is it yours? Does it serve you? Here's a practice. When you catch yourself thinking in limitation, say aloud, "That was the old self speaking." Then correct the thought. Replace it with clarity and precision. This is not positive thinking. This is warfare against mental weakness. Because your thoughts are not just thoughts. They're the seeds of your identity. And the old self? He's hiding in every one of them. Chapter 3, Burn the Comfort Zone. It's raining outside. The alarm goes off at 5 a.m. You tell yourself it's okay to sleep in, just for today. Comfort seduces with logic. And your old self thrives in that logic. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle isn't just an inconvenience. It's the test. The gatekeeper to growth. Your comfort zone is not a place. It's a pattern. And patterns protect your past, not your potential. Every time you choose ease over effort, you strengthen the chains of your former self. Discomfort, on the other hand, is sacred. It's the forge of transformation. Whether it's lifting heavier, speaking up when it's awkward, or saying no when it's hard, it's not about the action itself. It's about proving you're not that man anymore. Think of the gym. The muscle doesn't grow without resistance. Same with character. The Stoics knew this. That's why Epictetus told his students to welcome hardships, not avoid them. Modern behavioral science agrees, exposure to controlled discomfort builds resilience. It reshapes neural pathways. The brain literally rewires itself when pushed beyond the familiar. So here's the shift: stop waiting for comfort to disappear. Chase discomfort deliberately. Cold showers. Difficult conversations. Brutal honesty. These aren't trends, they're weapons. Your old self is lazy, emotionally fragile, addicted to ease. He must be starved. And that begins by making discomfort a daily ritual. Because growth doesn't come from convenience. It comes from choosing the hard thing, every damn time. Chapter 4, Detach from the echoes of the past. A song plays. A smell lingers. Suddenly, you're not in the present, you're back in a memory. A failure. A heartbreak. A moment where things went wrong. That's not nostalgia. That's a trap. The past doesn't exist anymore, yet it controls more people than the present ever does. Stoicism teaches that the past is a shadow, real enough to follow you, but only if you keep turning toward it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone, your present life. The ghost of your old self feeds on these echoes, on replaying what you should have said, what you didn't do, what you lost. That loop is where mediocrity survives. To kill your old self, you must starve the past. That means cutting ties not just with people or places, but with the narrative you've rehearsed for years. I'm the guy who failed that startup. I always get anxious around pressure. No. That was then. This is war. In therapy, this is called narrative exposure. It helps trauma victims rewrite their story with a new frame. Stoicism did this through journaling, writing to clarify, to reframe, to purge what no longer serves. Here's a truth few accept: your memories are not facts. They're interpretations. And interpretations can be rewritten. Ask yourself, is this memory helping me evolve, or is it keeping me loyal to someone I no longer want to be? This isn't about forgetting the past. It's about cutting its control. The old self lives in stories that no longer serve you. Bury them. Burn them. Stop giving CPR to a version of you that needs to stay dead. Chapter 5, Take Ruthless Responsibility. It's easy to point fingers. The boss didn't support you. Your parents didn't teach you better. The world isn't fair. And maybe all of that is true. But none of it will save you. The old self survives on blame. He looks outward for excuses and inward for pity. And as long as you let him, he'll keep you stuck, angry, fragile, powerless. The Stoics rejected this. Epictetus, born a slave, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He didn't have power over his circumstances, but he mastered his response. That's the Stoic weapon, radical responsibility. When you say, "This is on me," everything changes. Victimhood is traded for power. Complaint turns to action. You stop needing the world to be fair, and start becoming strong enough to face it as it is. Modern psychology aligns with this. Viktor Frankl, survivor of the Holocaust, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. That space is where the new self is born." Responsibility is not guilt. It's ownership. Guilt chains you to shame. Responsibility gives you the tools to rise. Even when something isn't your fault, it's your problem. And solving it is your duty. Ask yourself, where am I still pointing outward? Whose approval am I still waiting for? What excuses am I still defending? The moment you take full, ruthless responsibility for everything in your life, your habits, your thoughts, your results, is the moment your old self starts to panic. Because he can't survive in that environment. Responsibility isn't a burden. It's a sword. And only those ready for war will carry it. Chapter 6, Discipline over Emotion. Some mornings, you feel unstoppable. Other days, it's like dragging a dead weight. The difference? Emotion. But if you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. The old self is ruled by emotion, by moods, motivation, fleeting desires. He says, I'll start when I feel like it. But discipline doesn't negotiate. Discipline shows up whether it's raining or bright, whether you slept 5 hours or 8. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. Not because he was inspired, but because he had a duty to the highest within him. The Stoics saw discipline not as punishment but as alignment with reason. To act in accordance with your values, regardless of how you feel. Modern neuroscience confirms that habits wired through consistent action override emotional resistance. Every time you act despite your mood, you reinforce a neural path. That path becomes identity. Not the man who waits, but the man who moves. Emotion can be acknowledged, but it must never lead. You can feel tired and still train. You can feel uncertain and still speak. You can feel fear and still advance. Discipline is built in those tiny moments, when the couch whispers comfort and you walk away. When the junk food tempts and you say no. When the excuse is logical and you act anyway. Ask yourself, am I acting from emotion, or from principle? From a passing feeling, or from the future I'm building? The new self doesn't wait for permission. He doesn't consult his mood. He acts, because the mission demands it. Chapter 7, Empty Your Cup. Walk into any room with the belief that you already know, and you'll leave with nothing. That's the trap of the old self, arrogance disguised as certainty. Epictetus warned, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. And most people aren't growing because they're too busy defending outdated beliefs. Their identity is built on being right, not becoming better. The Stoics prized humility, not weakness, but intellectual humility. The willingness to admit, I may be wrong. To question what you've always believed. To let go of what once served but no longer fits who you are becoming. The old self is full. Full of opinions, ego, assumptions. But growth requires space. Space to absorb, to learn, to evolve. In Zen philosophy, there's a story. A master pours tea for a student, filling the cup until it overflows. The student shouts, stop. It's full. The master replies, exactly. How can I teach you anything unless you first empty your cup? This is not passive. It's aggressive humility. You attack your own ignorance with curiosity. You dismantle your own thinking to rebuild it stronger. Modern psychology calls this beginner's mind. It's the foundation of lifelong learning. Leaders, top performers, they don't cling to old methods. They evolve constantly, because they're always students first. Ask yourself, where am I still closed? What truths am I afraid to challenge? What outdated belief am I defending to protect my ego? You don't evolve by adding more information. You evolve by making space. By pouring out pride and refilling it with precision. Growth begins where certainty ends. Chapter 8, Harden through voluntary discomfort. A soft life builds a soft man. And softness is not compassion, it's vulnerability to chaos. The Stoics knew this. That's why Seneca practiced sleeping on the floor, eating plain food, and walking barefoot. Not because he lacked comfort, but because he refused to depend on it. He wrote, set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, so that it may be said of you, he is training for misfortune. This wasn't masochism. It was preparation. Controlled adversity, chosen suffering, makes you strong before the world tests you. The old self avoids hardship unless it's forced. The new self creates it. Cold showers. Fasting. Early mornings. Silence. The kind of discomfort that doesn't just test the body, but carves the mind. Modern psychology calls this stress inoculation. Voluntarily engaging in discomfort increases your threshold for pressure. It rewires your response to adversity. You stop reacting, you start enduring. Ask yourself, when was the last time I did something uncomfortable on purpose? When did I choose the hard route, not because I had to, but because I should? Discomfort is the whetstone. And the blade you're sharpening is your character. Every controlled hardship you face today makes you unbreakable tomorrow. Because when the chaos comes, and it will, only those who've trained for pain will remain calm, steady, and unshaken. Voluntary discomfort isn't punishment. It's preparation for greatness. Chapter 9, Beware the praise and the blame. You finish the work. Someone applauds. You post your progress. The likes roll in. Then the next day, nothing. The applause stops, and so does your effort. This is the trap. The old self craves recognition. He builds momentum from validation. But the Stoics warned, if your identity depends on praise, you're also enslaved by criticism. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That's not about rejection. It's about freedom. Freedom from needing anyone's permission to live with purpose. Your mission isn't to impress. It's to align with your values, whether the crowd cheers or walks away. Praise and blame are both outside your control. The Stoic mind is indifferent to both. In today's world of endless opinions, this principle is more critical than ever. Social media, peer pressure, toxic feedback loops, every one of them designed to pull your focus outward. But the true Stoic? He doesn't measure his worth with someone else's yardstick. Modern behavioral psychology backs this with the concept of internal versus external locus of control. The more you depend on external approval, the more fragile you become. The more you build your standards internally, the more stable and powerful you are. Ask yourself, would I still do this if nobody saw it? Would I still pursue this goal if everyone mocked it? Your path must be independent of applause. Because when the noise fades, and it will, what remains is who you truly are. Be dangerous in silence. Be proud in solitude. And never let the opinion of the world distract you from the mission within. Chapter 10, Live as if you are dying. You think you have time. Time to fix it. Time to change. Time to become who you were meant to be. But that's the oldest lie the old self believes, there's always more time. The Stoics lived with death at their shoulder. Memento mori wasn't a morbid obsession. It was clarity. A weapon to cut through distraction and delay. Seneca wrote, you act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. Meaning, you fear death, yet you waste life. You postpone purpose, as if the clock isn't ticking. To live as if you are dying doesn't mean recklessness. It means urgency. Focus. Ruthlessness with how you spend your time and who you spend it with. The old self procrastinates. He waits for the perfect moment. But perfection is a myth, and waiting is just fear in disguise. The new self acts, not tomorrow, not later, now. Modern therapy echoes this. Existential psychology teaches that acknowledging mortality leads to deeper meaning, more deliberate action, and a fuller life. Ask yourself, if this year was your last, what would you stop tolerating? If this month was your final stretch, what would you finally start? Time is not promised. The Stoics knew that each breath could be your last, and so they made each one count. That's not fear. That's freedom. Live urgently. Speak truth now. Build legacy, not just comfort. Because one day will be your last. And when that day comes, your old self must already be dead. What remains should be someone you're proud to meet at the end. Conclusion: kill the old self before time does. This isn't about inspiration. It's about execution. You've carried the ghost of your former self long enough, through failure, fear, comfort, and excuses. But now you know, the path forward is a funeral. A deliberate burial of who you were. Every small act of courage, every refusal to delay, every embrace of discomfort, every rejection of blame, is a blade. Each one cuts deeper into the old identity. Until nothing remains but action, discipline, and truth. The Stoics weren't just philosophers. They were warriors of the soul. They saw life as training for death. And training for death meant living fully, deliberately, urgently. So what now? Act without needing to feel ready. Let go of the past, not with sentiment, but with fire. Strip away excuses and carve out responsibility. Make discomfort your daily ritual. Sharpen your mind with silence and discipline. Live your values regardless of praise or blame. And move, always move, as if death watches every step. Because it does. You are not here to be liked. You are here to become something unrecognizable to the man you once were. So start now. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels right. Now. And when this video ends, make a decision. One real, clear, ruthless step that the old you would never take. Then tell us in the comments, what part of your old self dies today. Like this video if it lit something inside you. Share it if someone you know is still sleepwalking through life. Subscribe for more war strategies, not comfort, on the path of Stoic mastery. Your rebirth begins now. Make it count.